evening, everybody, and welcome back to the August 2016 edition of Stirring the Pot, live from Atlanta, Georgia. I am Dennis Aloia, one of your co-hosts. The other fellows I will introduce. To my immediate left is Mr. Chris Massey. Say hello, Chris.
Hello, everybody.
And then to his left is Mr. Matthew Schwartz.
How's everybody doing?
Our well-known attorney and panelist. And Mr. Al Burrows, a man of many talents, in addition to being our sound and light and
resident problem
audio engineer. He does a lot of other things. Yeah,
perennial birthday boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Al, I want to tell you that birthday bash, I got a lot of comments on it last month. It was probably a classic. It's going to be one of our big blooper.
Say on your best hits.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking a little bit before the show about what our observations of the month might be, so I'm going to get right at it. If you guys don't mind, can I just throw mine out for observation by you guys? I used to be a fan of the NFL. I think I still am to a degree, but not like I used to be. And today really upset me because I guess it's all national news. Colin Kaepernick, a quarterback with San Francisco 49ers, who just signed a contract for $116 million, saw fit to sit during the national anthem. The other side of that coin is this. I study history a lot, especially World War II history, and I'm so taken with the guys that sacrificed their blood and actually made the ultimate sacrifice in that war as well as many others. There were guys in prison camps run by the Japanese that were absolutely brutal to them, and they secretly made flags, and it took them 5 years to make it and hide it and keep it. Same thing with the Vietnam prisoners of war. And I think about these guys, and then I see this young fool, Colin Kaepernick, sit down during the national anthem. It makes me want to throw up, actually. Any responses?
You should stand during the national anthem. That's all I'm going to say.
Really? Okay. Oh, that's surprising. That's good to hear.
Why is that surprising?
Well, it's surprising.
You think because I'm a liberal that I'm not patriotic at all?
Absolutely.
See, that's... see that? I mean...
Where's the smoke? I want to see the smoke.
Let me say something even more surprising. I think Colin Kaepernick actually has the right not to stand.
Oh.
I disagree with him. I think it's terribly disrespectful. I know that Dennis off the air said that he thinks he should be fired because of it, and I don't think he should be fired because of it. Dennis also said that there should be consequences, and I think that there are going to be consequences. I just don't think it's appropriate to come from the team. I think that he didn't commit a crime. He didn't do anything that was morally obscene. He's expressing his opinions, with which I obviously take great issue. But I think he is going to be suffering consequences. Half this country hates him now, okay? And many of them are burning his jerseys. And the team may actually suffer somewhat because they may suffer a fall off of merchandising revenue because of this. They may suffer a decrease in their ticket revenue, although I'm not quite sure that's going to happen because he's not the only guy in that team. There's a lot of other people on that team, and the rest of them are standing, as far as I know, for the national anthem. What I think is the worst thing about what he did, and why I think it's ultimately a terrible thing, is that, and I disagree with him with two things. Number one, of course, for not standing, which is disrespectful, but also the underlying reason why he's not standing. He thinks that black people are being oppressed and persecuted in this country, and I disagree with that premise as well.
That's my next point I'd like to bring
But to the extent that there are any problems at all, okay, what he's done by disrespecting the flag and in essence the entire country is, I think he's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There is so much good in this country that is symbolized in that flag that to crap on that flag and that essentially doing that by not standing for the national anthem, what you're doing is you're saying you hate all of America, all the things that are associated with America, including the right that he has to not stand for the national anthem. He's crapping on his own rights to not have to stand during the national anthem, which is ultimately why I think it's hypocritical for him to do that. There should have been another way. If he's that upset about what's happening in the country, there should have been another way he could have voiced his concern and his protest over those circumstances, as opposed to just crapping on everything that this country stands for.
Al, you got a comment about it?
Wow.
It's a deep subject, huh?
Yeah, I mean, because it's not I hadn't thought about it before the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just listening and kind of taking it all in. And
do you know why he's not standing?
Yeah. I think I kind of picked that up, in the news. But one of the things that actually it reminds me of two other situations. where you have people who refuse to do something. Muhammad Ali not going into the service, and obviously there was court, and he lost his title and all that kind of stuff. And then also the I think it was the three African Americans who stood up on the Olympics, on the Olympics, and raised their fists with black gloves. I think that for me, this country, the freedoms, and we've talked about it before on the show, the freedoms come with what do you want to call it? There's good and bad, or not necessarily good and bad, but there's things that we agree with and things that we don't agree with. There's actions that people take that people agree with, actions that people, if it's not against the law, because we are a country of laws, then as far as I'm concerned, anybody has, you have the right to do it, whether the people like it or not, or people in general like it or not. That's what comes with the freedom. A person has the right to do something, and then people also have the right to not like it. And that, to me, is the part of the country that's great. If we didn't have Kaepernick, Muhammad Ali, these three gentlemen that were in the Olympics, if we didn't have situations like that, I don't think we would be necessarily reminded in a way that would remind everybody that, hey, look, this is that freedom to do something like that is what makes the country great, because it's that reminder that all that passion that you're feeling comes from the fact that somebody did something that you didn't like, and they had the right to do it, and you have the right to not like it.
He didn't have the right to do it.
No,
why not?
Sure
no, I mean, no, because you say right, because rights.
Well, let him explain it.
Okay.
Let him explain it.
Here's my take on it. Number one,
because all three of us disagree with him on that, I think.
Okay. You can all come at me now. Number one, I was personally offended. Okay. I am a fan of the NFL. For the NFL not to take any action and let it slide, and the 49ers front office to also let it slide, is unacceptable to me. There has to be some corrective action. If he wants to make a statement, fine. Make it on your personal time, okay? They're paying you to be an entertainer, to entertain the people being a quarterback for this team. He doesn't have the right to do that in the course of his job when 100 million people are watching him. If you did that in private industry, they'd fire your ass in a heartbeat.
But you know what? The NFL should have set up a rule pertaining to that. That is more their fault than it is his fault.
Nobody ever thought that the guy was stupid enough to do something like that.
Well, their rule says that it is suggested.
Exactly.
That you stand. Now, it's just like this. You can't park in front of a building where there's a no parking sign, and then while you're inside, they put up a no parking sign up, and you come out and get a ticket.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't do that.
You know what? He's got the right to do it, and if he may have waived that right by saying, I agree to whatever protocols the NFL sets, but in this case, the NFL said he doesn't have to. So he didn't even waive that right. And the only consequence of violating the protocols, if he did violate the protocols, would be that he would lose his job. He doesn't really waive his constitutionally protected right to express his opinion.
I just believe firmly that he has a right. Absolutely, I agree with that. But here's the caveat. Not during working time.
Why not?
If it's okay.
Because
the NFL said he
perform
could.
a service and entertain
but he
people.
works for the NFL, and the NFL doesn't have a problem with it.
The NFL
That's where the problem is.
And also, Dennis, you don't have a right not to be offended. Okay, right. And you shouldn't advocate for that, because let me tell you something. There are many more people that offend you than you are offended of them. So
all right,
you better be careful.
Okay, folks. It's an unwritten law. You never cross the third rail. You never talk about religion, politics, and race. Well,
wait, what about sex?
Sex, okay, that's the fourth rail. I'd like to bring up the thing about the racial tension in this country that is, in my estimation, largely created by the person at the top in our country. The crap rolls downhill, okay? But that's a conversation for another day. I want to make some observations about the African-American black community in this country as I see it as a white guy who's worked for everything he's gotten over the years and I'm not a rich man, okay? What I have seen in my lifetime is great progress by black people. I hear from Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, President Obama, there's racism. Everybody's got to struggle. There's no even playing field. You know, they're oppressed. Bull crap. And I'll tell you why. I see black people every single day of my life in various capacities working. I see doctors, I see nurses, I see bus drivers, I see people that have absolutely become a part of our fabric and society as working people. Now, these people grew up with the same opportunity I have. What's the difference between those folks working and the folks in the inner cities where we have spent hundreds of trillions of dollars since Lyndon Johnson created the Great Society that have done absolutely nothing to better their lives? Where are the black leaders going into those communities to help their people? I haven't seen Obama go in there. I haven't seen any black leaders. All they do is from afar talk about how we got to pour more money in here. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. We've got to give people a hand up, okay? And that means get them some good jobs, get them some people in there that are pastors that can talk to them, because a lot of them are coming from single-family homes or single-mother homes. And, you know, that's a big problem, because if you don't have a male influence with kids, they got 2 strikes against them. And I realize that. You got a 70% birth rate without a father in the home. And that's an uphill struggle. I realize that. But where did all this money go that we've been pouring into these places for years, for generations? Now it's into its 2nd generation. That's hard for me to fathom. Look at Detroit. Look at the inner city of Chicago. Look at Cleveland. Look at Baltimore. The murder rates are up 25% on average in all of these places. I feel sorry for the people there, but we got to take a different approach than just throw money at the problem, and the politicians only bring it up when they need their vote. Trump's right when he says, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to offer him some hope with jobs, because jobs equal hope.
Okay, let's hear from our resident liberal.
There you go.
All right. Well,
I
don't have the numbers in front of me, but if you look up and look at the percentage of white, let's take Memphis. You take the percentage of white men with a college degree applying for a job as opposed to African American men with a college degree applying for a job, you will see a big contrast. Okay, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I've seen them before. You can take a look. Okay, first off, for anybody to say, I can't say that the blacks are oppressed or whatever, because I'm not black. Okay, I ain't got a clue about what it's like to be black, but I do know this. I have a pretty good idea that it's a lot harder in America being black than it is being white, especially in the southern United States. You talk about all these inner cities and everything. Did you know, and I did look this up, 47.8% of everybody on food stamps in this country has a full-time minimum wage job. 47.8%.
These are not people who are sitting around.
Not sitting around.
Okay.
You raise the minimum wage, you could almost cut half the people off of food stamps right off the bat.
And Republicans lose their jobs.
Republicans want to raise minimum wage? Yeah. They're not all going to lose their job.
Of course they will.
No.
It happens all the time. They lose a job and the company's closed.
You think McDonald's...
They automate the jobs.
You think McDonald's is going to... Look, if they can automate the jobs, they're going to do it anyway. What makes you think they're not going to automate jobs to save a few people that are working minimum wage jobs?
Because, when they're this close to automating and then you raise the minimum wage, that's the catalyst for automating.
They're going to automate it. If they can do it, they're going to do it.
No. It costs a ton of money to automate. Are you kidding me? A ton of money. And it's not going to, if the wage stays the same, they're probably not going to pull that trigger. But if you bump it up to $15 an hour,
yeah, but labor keeps on coming. Eventually the equipment is paid for. Okay? In the long run, if you can automate it, you're going to make money. You might not write it first, but eventually you will.
They raised the minimum wage in New York, and people were protesting because they were losing their welfare benefits. And they're asking for a wage reduction.
All I'm telling you is this.
That was fast food
all
workers
I'm saying is that almost half the people on food stamps, and the reason we have record numbers of people on food stamps is because for the first time in American history, you have people that are working full-time jobs that cannot make enough money to live. That's a fact. Okay, now you argue, you can say you can do this or you can say do that.
Where have all the jobs gone? They've been exported to foreign countries. Okay, that's where the jobs have gone. Sorry, Al. Go ahead.
No. I'm good. I think the problem is that America has a silver bullet mentality. Fast food, silver bullet, whatever you want to call it. And what happens is that we wind up having a very narrow scope when it comes to problems and solutions. The problem, let me the problems that you're talking about right now in terms of wages and all that kind of, is multifaceted. When we stopped raising the minimum wage, the problem is that if it was slow over a period of time, then that gives businesses a chance to adjust to the situation. But when you start talking about taking it from here to here, so now everybody's paranoid because it's a big change. We really don't know. Now, I know I'm in business, you're in business, a lot of us are in business, and my wife's in business. She's not hiring. And one of the things I think I hear a lot of times with Republicans, hey, well, these are the guys, give these guys a tax break because these are the guys that create the jobs. One of the problems with that is that I've never seen anybody create a job for the sake of creating a job. They create a job because there's an opportunity to pay somebody this and to make this off of that labor.
Exactly.
That's the only reason. Not because, just give me a tax cut and I'm going to take that extra $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year from the tax cut and I'm going to go create a job. No, I'm only going to do that if I can see a profit. I'm not going to do it and take a loss.
Well, that's
now, that's the first
capitalism.
thing. But I want to go back to this African-American thing, which is what you started on, a lot of this started on. Being an African-American male in this country, I got to say a couple of things. And you guys know I work hard for what I have.
Sure do.
Okay? All right. So, and the thing is that there was a time where I was working out on construction sites. Okay? And so when I would go to the bank to either cash my check or whatever, a lot of times I had muddy boots on or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Construction type look. Mm-hmm. I would get at the bank, at the store, blah, 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 blah. I would get this look of, why are you in here? Or please don't come to my window. And then when I did get to the window, you would get almost a mumble. It was almost like they didn't want to talk to you. I found out over time that if I took up my King's English a little bit, mm-hmm. shoulders would drop, people would smile, blah, 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 blah. But what I'm saying is that the first impression is that I'm a mass murderer. That's really the look that you would get as a black male in this country.
Maybe you shouldn't have been carrying your machete.
Exactly. But the thing is,
could have been that severed head in the back of your car.
But the thing is that, you made a great point. I don't know what it's like to be white. I couldn't begin to tell you what it's like to be white. I don't know the benefits. I don't know the drawbacks, any of that. But I do know what it's like to be black. Okay, and that there are, and being in the entertainment business, I do understand how entertainment works on the mentality of the people who are being entertained. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the thing is that you don't see black superheroes. You don't see an Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. You don't get that particular hero being African American. You don't see that in movies at all.
Black Panther?
We finally got one.
We don't see white rap artists.
Wesley Snipes and Denzel Washington didn't have...
I get your point.
But the thing is that they had to come through the black community to get to that point. My thing is that Arnold Schwarzenegger, he came straight through. What was that movie whatever that movie was? That I remember what
Terminator?
Well, no, it was before Terminator, but that's when he really blew
Conan?
up.
Barbarian.
Conan, right.
Yeah.
Oh, right. He's a muscle guy.
Strictly comic books.
But my point is that the reason I brought that up is because as an entertainer, I understand how entertainment works. And it is a gateway to the mind. That's what it does. That's why people engage in entertainment. They want what they call it, getting away for a few hours. You go to see a movie and you come out and you just like 3 hours just went by you. Escapism, exactly. But the thing is that when you open up to the mind like that, things go in that don't come out. And when they do come out, they come. I'm saying all this is subtle, but that's my whole point. Is that it's not just this is what it is and that's it. It's very, very subtle. And the life that I'm talking about as an African American male, all of them are subtleties. And the last point I want to make is that when I say I go into a bank, it doesn't make a difference whether they're black, white, green, or purple on the other side of that window. I get it from everybody.
You're going to rob no matter what they are.
Exactly. I'm a burglar, man. No matter who's on the other side of that window. And so what I'm saying is that these are things I experienced. This is, like I said, you know me as a good guy.
Yeah.
But I know that when I walk up, I have to raise my game and give a certain impression in order for them to relax and understand I'm okay.
Well,
And I've got to prove myself every time I go into a situation.
2 points that go back to what I started this conversation about. I have seen so much progress in the last 50 years, and black people are everywhere in our society and working every kind of job imaginable. Everything from pilots and doctors down to fast food and in between.
Yeah, maybe
So
one day we'll have a black president.
The opportunity is there for everybody. I don't see anybody getting denied housing. I don't see any black people getting denied, a college education or a job. I just don't see that. We've overcome that. We're beyond that. But yet these people that go in there and talk about the folks that are left behind and uneducated in these high crime areas, they only go in there to get their votes. They're not solving their frickin' problems, because they should be bringing them a positive message. Nobody wants to be per generations on welfare. That takes away your self-esteem.
I want to add something to what Dennis is saying in terms of what the opportunity is for African Americans now, and I'm going to say this, being involved, deeply involved in the corporate world, okay, and also in the educational system, okay. There is a very strong approach now in both corporate America and in the university system that is affirmative action based. And they actually proactively seek African Americans to populate their workforce and to populate their student bodies. They actually have a better chance of getting into a college than a white person. They get the preference. They have a better chance of getting management positions in corporations because they feel that they have to diversify, because that's the mentality that is pervading in all the corporations I'm dealing with. I'm talking about Fortune 500 companies.
There's a benefit to it. There's a benefit to it.
Well, I think that, I think in fact the pendulum has probably swung too much that way. I could see where that probably could have done some good at some point, but we're at the point now where I think that pretense needs to be dropped, and I think that we need to be colorblind in the pursuit of talent as opposed to being talent blind in the pursuit of color.
Well, you hear about white privilege. I've never experienced white privilege. Nobody's ever handed me a thing. And I think that what you just pointed out points to the fact that white privilege is non-existent, because people are wanting to get more diversified people in business.
Look, it's the subtle things, like Al said.
That's perception.
No,
That's
it's not. It's reality. Let me tell you.
That's what you
let
think,
me finish.
but you don't know what's going on in those people's heads.
Let
But think about it.
Let me give you a prime example, okay? I live in Midtown Atlanta, okay? I work in the suburbs all day. One of the things that comes up in conversation when I'm doing my sales presentations, Chris, where do you live? Okay? I say I live in Midtown. You know what I get over half the time? Aren't there a lot of black people down there? Aren't there a lot of black people down there? That's what I get. Wow. That's what I'm talking about. Wow. It's the whole perception.
And the thing is that it's a downgrade.
Look, you say pilots and this and that. That's not the problem. People with college education, it's the people between the college education and the people living in the housing project, those people in the middle that are getting the shaft.
But here, I think if that's going on from a real, I guess I'm taking this from an observational standpoint. If somebody that's brought up in a white community has hardly any interaction with black folks, and you know what the crime rate is in this country among the black population, I think they have a natural standoffishness, because, it's just out of control.
You're saying to the extent that Al's perceptions are actually
he suffers
real.
from that. Being a good guy and an honest guy, they tend to lump everybody together by color.
Even Jesse Jackson's on record saying that when he walks down the street and he sees 3 black youths coming his way, he thinks about going to the other side of the street. But if he sees 3 white guys in suits, then he doesn't feel.
Let's turn it around hypothetically, okay? Let's say all black people, all white people are successful. There's no issues, no problems. We're all just happy together, and we're all making a great living, okay? There is no black ghetto. But all the people that are brown, the Mexicans and the South Americans, they live in the ghetto, and they are the purveyors of the high crime rates in the ghetto. Now, how are you going to feel when a Spanish guy comes up to you with that sort of perception about, oh my God, he's from this high crime area, I might get hurt?
I got to tell you something.
People think about that.
I got to tell you something. I don't know, but I am a native Atlantan.
Yeah.
Every generation in my family till the boat landed at the dock was raised in the South. Wow. And I'm going to tell you right now, the perception for black people and Hispanic people is 2 different things. And it's worse for black people.
Wow.
It just,
That's
it
the
just
question.
is.
No,
it just
there's
is.
a reason, and I
Well,
believe
but
that it's
again,
the
wait,
crime
okay,
rate.
I
don't think it has to do with
well,
the...
again, I think that we talked about this before the show, and I had to bring it up again because, again,
Okay.
you know, I think it's multifaceted. I think that it's a lot of subtle stuff going on. You got a range of issues and a width. I mean, it's a box. It's three-dimensional. It's not just two-dimensional, you know, where it's just a piece of paper and that's it. There's depth to all of this. The thing is that, again, when you look at one of the things that hurt the African-American community, the way I see it, was when you said, when the government said, hey, we'll feed you, we'll clothe you, blah, 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 but you can't have a man in the home. When they came out with, you know, the whole, there's been a lot of things that's gone on that didn't benefit and what I was going to really bring up was the fact that what we talked about earlier was the fact that you can go to other countries and there's discrimination in all different kind of countries. You can have two people that look exactly the same and they got different religions and they're killing each other over it. You know, and I mean, and you can go to all these different continents and different countries. You got black people killing black people in Africa. Okay, is it because of, you know, is it because of their skin color? No. So my point is that we have differences are the thing. There's a, you know, psychology. When it comes to psychology, smokers like to hang out with smokers, drinkers hang out with drinkers. Okay, so the thing is that a lot of times you see, you know, even when it comes to church, they say Sunday morning is the most segregated time in America. White people, they go, black people go here, Indian people go here, Chinese people, Korean people go here. Right. Everybody separates. So my point is that in human nature, you're going to get some natural separation of the races. And not just race, but you're going to get natural separation
Culturally.
when there's differences.
Yeah.
If you see a different race, a different religion, a different this, a different that, a different financial class, you're going to see differences all the way across the board. And I think that that's the thing. What happens is in America, we try to focus and just make a thing where, oh, okay, well, it's just America. It's a black-white thing. No, if you go all over the world, you see subtleties amongst all different kinds of people. And we need to, I think what needs to happen is we need to slow down on the, hey, it's just a black and white thing and understand that it's really part of human nature for people to want to congregate with, quote unquote, their own. People who like football hang out with what? People who like football. You know,
I want to make a point about that. And I want to tell you a personal story, okay, on that same sort of subject, I guess. You know, we got all kinds of people living in this country. We got Asians, we got Indians, we got black people.
We got the package.
But the crime problem is amongst the black community by and large. It's a huge, huge problem. And that is really a strike against other good black people.
All right, stop right there.
And I got to make another personal story, okay?
Go ahead.
Let's turn the clock back for just a minute. Chicago's going through the worst murder things in 20 years. This was the most murders they had in August since 20 years ago. I'm from that town, okay? The only other time that the murder rates were that high, the government stepped in. And do you know when that was? When they had the gang wars in the 1920s and Al Capone ran the city. My father was a young man during those times, and he met my mother. And he was hanging out with those guys, okay? My mother was Swedish. My father was Italian. The Swedes didn't like the Dagos because they're the ones that did the crime. You see the perception?
There it is.
There it is.
That's what I'm talking about.
Plus,
right
they weren't white. I'm medium, man.
So you got an olive thing going on there.
You know, I'm saying, you know, so it happens.
But that's what I'm talking about. You know,
after the government cleaned it up and the crime rate went down, you get past that another 20, 25 years, World War II comes along, everybody starts serving in the military and fighting for the country. That issue went away. You know.
Well, and like perception, like, okay, like you say that most of the crime is committed in the
violent crime.
Violent crime. Okay,
crime.
But see, crime is an economic thing. It's not a racial thing. Because if it was a racial thing, then black middle class people would be committing crimes at the same rate that poor black people are.
Great point.
And they're not.
Great point.
But nobody ever says it's an economic problem. They always say it's a black problem. Poor people commit crimes. It's been that way since the beginning of time. And that goes for white folks too, in rural areas and all kinds of stuff. But it's got the stigma of it being black on black and this and that and the other, when in fact, the only thing that all the violent crime has in common is that everybody's poor.
The only thing that'll solve that, in my opinion, are two things.
Wait a
Get rid of
second.
the
There are
drugs.
impoverished white people. There are impoverished Hispanic people.
That's what I said.
No. So, but again, the biggest number of crimes is produced by the African American community. Even though you have tons of
You're
poor
talking about
Hispanic
you're
people.
talking about
Violent
based
crime.
you're talking about based on percentage.
Yeah.
Because we're only 13% of the population. We cannot be doing the majority of the crime.
Violent
Actually,
crime?
you do a not you.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a disproportionate
That's what I
amount
said.
of violent crime.
That's what I said, based on percentage.
Yeah, based on percentage.
Not
Right,
necessarily
right.
on the big number.
But the African American community is disproportionately committing more crimes than any other group, even though all groups have impoverished people. So
But you know what?
That's a false argument.
But you know what? To back you up,
Of course
to
it
back
is.
you up, here's the thing that African Americans have been saying for years, and a lot of people don't listen to it, but it's said all the time. When America catches a cold, the African American community catches pneumonia. It's always been that way, and we know it. And the thing is that we have to deal with it, because the thing is that nobody's going to do anything about us having pneumonia, you know. And so the thing is that yes, so we just came through this whole 2008. We're still dealing with the effects of that. Now, okay, unemployment steadily come down. Okay, now it's at 4.9%. People are starting to get hired again. Wages are starting to go up again. Blah 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 blah.
Housing market's coming back.
Yeah, my housing market is starting to come back. What you're going to see is over time, you're going to see America start to raise itself up. But the thing is that you can't have a group of people over there and everybody just okay. Well, let them go over there and kill themselves. Let's let them go over there.
No, we got to solve the problem.
You got to solve the problem, and the thing is that one of the things, if you notice Donald Trump, and this is a great segue. If you notice Donald Trump, when he started talking about black people, he wasn't talking to black people. He was talking to a bunch of white people.
In Mississippi.
In Mississippi and Louisiana, wherever he was.
He probably lost votes that
so
day.
my point is that it goes back to what you and I are discussing in terms of there has to be some engagement. You're right. Some things need to be fixed, but you can't fix them unless you engage the problem. You can't stand in the suburbs and say, oh, there's a problem over there. We need to fix it. I'm not saying that's what you're saying.
I think we all agree with that,
Right.
but what is the problem? Chris would say
But-
that it's economics, but I think Dennis and I would say, no, it's not economics, it's social, and I think Dennis
But
hit the
you
nail
know
on the
what?
head. Wait, let me finish. I think Dennis hit the nail on the head. I think it stems mostly from the fact that there is this horrible debacle going on in the African American community of this blight
genocide.
of forget the genocide. It's this rampant 70% out of wedlock, having kids out of wedlock and not having families, not having a father figure in the family to teach and impart kids and serve as a role model.
Right.
And I think that there are statistics that show that African Americans that come from a broken home that have the 90% chance of either getting into drugs, going to jail, or dying by the time that they're 25 years old, because they come from a family that is broken. That is a cycle that has to be reversed. And I think that if it is reversed, I don't think you see that much crime. I think it comes, you got to get the values from your parents, and you have to come from a stable home. I think that's the biggest problem.
But I think that's a symptom. African American fathers not being at home is a symptom of something else. And see, that's what I'm talking about in terms of the silver bullet.
what is it a symptom
What
of?
is it? You lost me on that
And
one.
okay, no, my point is that what I was
Why aren't they
what
there?
I was going to bring up is that again, we're not looking at the 3D version of this. When he says it's economic, he's right, partially. But the thing is, we can't say he's wrong. We just say he may not be completely
Well, what's
right.
the super
Where does
cause?
personal
Why do they
responsibility
have
come
low
in?
economic earning
you know what?
capability?
You know
it's
what?
because of the family unit.
No.
And you say it's a symptom, right? I'll tell you what
I-
it's a symptom of.
I think-
I'll tell you what it's a symptom of. Okay, the person, the father of the children who's not staying with the father, it's a symptom of the fact that his father wasn't there. It is it's
They're
a
not taking
self-fulfilling
personal
prophecy.
responsibility for their actions.
They didn't have a father. Their own father wasn't there for them, so they think it's okay not to
You
be
know
there
what?
for their kids.
Let me say
That's
this.
what the problem is.
Let me say this. I think that the part of the box, that 3D view that I'm talking about, is that the three of you admitted that, hey, look, I'm not black. I don't know what it's like to be black.
I never
blah,
admitted
blah,
that.
blah.
Those two.
No,
I know
okay, all right,
exactly.
I
what
know
it
you're
is
black.
I know.
Okay,
Don't take that away from me.
Right, exactly. Okay, but the thing is that what I'm saying is that I think that when we say, oh, well, we need to fix this, or we need to fix that, we need to fix this, I think the one thing, if you look at a family unit, and you're all married,
yes,
everybody's married. If you take communication out of your home, you got a train wreck.
Yeah.
You can take almost anything. You can take money out and say, well, as long as we communicate and we're on the same page, we can survive.
Right.
You can take a lot of different things out of the home, but if you take communication out of the home, you got nothing. And so my point is that when we're sitting on the sidelines saying it's this, with zero engagement, this is what the news says. The news says is this, statistics say that, and blah, 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 blah. If you're not going in and actually sit down and talking to, which we're trying to remedy, if you're not engaging in conversation, which you all admit you have to have in order for your relationships at home to survive. You have to have that communication. You going in and actually into the hood and actually saying, hey, look, I just need to just find out what's going on, and I'm not going to take it from CNN, Fox, blah, blah, blah. Y'all tell me what's going on in here. That's a different perspective.
But here's your opportunity. Tell everybody, what is the problem? This is the way we perceive it. Now you tell us from your perspective. Why is that problem?
Well, when I say again, when I say it's a 3D box and we don't have a silver bullet solution and that we need to communicate, that is what I would say.
It's going to take multiple solutions.
Multiple solutions, multiple issues, blah, blah, blah. You can't fix economics without fixing this over here. You can't fix, no fathers over here without fixing jobs over here. You can't, it's all tied in together.
Well, then let me make a point, Al, very important point. I think I agree with you, okay? It's multifaceted, therefore it's going to take multi-solutions to even get started to, render the problem at least on its way to being solved. But then I read about a guy, 43 years old, a black man who was killed in the hood. He had 16 kids. Where's the personal responsibility? Maybe he grew up without a father, but my God, man, 16 kids? And I'll guarantee you the guy wasn't an executive making $100,000 a year. He's perpetuating this cycle of dependence.
I bet you had some of those kids to get more money from the government.
But you can have a father who has one child and he can get shot too. So my point is again, we can always cherry pick situations, but again, the box that needs to be looked at and dealt with, you almost have to get into the box in order to start looking at possible solutions. Here's the thing.
I had 5 children, okay? I got the cord cut, my own cord, after number 5, all right? That's personal responsibility.
Right.
This man had 16 kids.
Right.
By who knows how many women.
Right.
And what kind of opportunity are his children going to have in that environment? The personal responsibility part is not there. That needs to be changed.
But you can look at the good doctor. What's his name? Dr.
Ben Carson.
Okay. Yeah. But it wasn't like he came up and he had to work himself out of the situation. So the thing is, it wasn't like because he had a bad situation in Detroit that he automatically wound up being over here. But that's my point. My point is that there is no automatic situation. There is nothing that says because it's this, it's going to be that. It's just like anything else. If you're going through marital problems, sooner or later you got to say, okay, well, look, we need to just stop and just work this out. Let's just talk about all the different issues. 9 times out of 10, if you've been married in an extended period of time, 9 times out of 10, there were probably some times that weren't all that great. But 9 times out of 10, too, there were probably multiple things that you had to stop and deal with. It probably wasn't just one thing. You might have been having economic problems, and you might have said, okay, well, the economic problems are making this shine over here and this shine over here. And so now everybody's dealing with stuff, but they're not dealing with the true issue.
Well, I think that the black community, that I'm talking about the folks that are left behind in the inner cities, okay? That's what I'm talking about. Those are the folks that have got the major problems in this country. Those are American citizens. We need to solve those problems first before we bring in undocumented immigrants from other countries and give them the opportunities for jobs that could go to these people and get them off of welfare. Okay. I strongly believe that.
Okay. You don't argue with that, do you?
It's going to take a lot of solutions. It's going to take a lot of solutions, and the government can't do it all. Okay, we've thrown hundreds of billions of dollars there. They can't do it all. I think that the churches have to step up. I think black leaders have to step up. I never see the black congressional caucus going in the hood, man, and talking to people and trying to, get them in a positive mood. They're always bitching about what's wrong. Well, do something to fix it. That's my observation.
I want to hear from Chris.
Look, if I knew what the answer was, I'd be a billionaire.
He's got the answer. It's multifaceted.
Well, but see,
it takes time. It takes time. You have to get in it. I mean, it's like you got to get your hands dirty.
Yeah,
you can't
it is multifaceted. You know. And to one guy it's this, and to another guy it's that, and to another guy it's this,
it's all over
and another guy it's that, and it's too broad, and it's too spread out.
It's
too spread out to just say, hey, we're going to do this. In other words, we're going to put up a wall and we're going to kick out 11 million people.
Let me tell you what would help.
Not going to fix the problem.
Let me tell you what would help the African American community in the inner cities more than anything, and that is get the damn drugs out of there.
How do you do it? I got a solution.
Well,
want to hear my solution?
What's that?
Number 1, activate the National Guard. Number 2, put them in armored vehicles, go through the hood, stop and frisk, take all the guns that you can find and all the drugs and lock their ass up. That's the solution. The politicians don't have the balls to do it. That's the problem.
Based on the drug problem,
they're killing people by giving them drugs.
What are we going to do with all the people up in Maine that are dying because of heroin? You got laced heroin out there.
Close the borders.
No. These are white folks.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Where are they getting the stuff from? Mexico and South America.
But the thing is that
the border's wide open, man.
It's just like alcohol back in the Prohibition days. As long as you got people who want it, the people will find a way to get it to the people to the customer.
Right now, the president of the Philippines ran on a platform that he would get rid of the drug dealers any way he could. So far, they've killed over 2,000 drug dealers in the Philippines, okay? He's curing the problem. You might not like history, but the Chinese had a major drug problem when they were a British territory.
I remember
you know how they solved it? They killed the drug dealers.
So
they closed the opium houses.
So we need to be a communist nation.
No, we need to kill the drug dealers, man. We need to make examples of people
here's
and not lock them up, but hang them, shoot them, do whatever you need to do because they are nothing but murderers.
But here's the problem. The problem is that you actually have to go against the Constitution. This is where you
don't.
You have to go against the Constitution to start shooting
Obama
people.
makes presidential orders every day of the week. Why can't the next president make it?
If you're going to just start shooting people, in other words, we're not China. We're not the Philippines.
What's the alternative? Let the people continue to be poisoned and die?
Let me get back to what my solution was. As I identify the problem, I think the biggest problem, the principal problem, is being uninvolved parents. It gets back to the family unit, and this dovetails to what you were saying, which is we need to stop the demand. How do we stop the demand? Because the demand is there. It's going to come in no matter how many drug dealers you kill, right?
Remember they tried that.
Let me talk. So my sense is if you can somehow change the conditions so that you don't have fatherless families, that you have two parents in the community that are very involved with their kids and impart to them the right values. Because I can tell you right now, I am on my kids all the time, and I'm telling them, no drugs. Why no drugs? You know why? Because I'll take them to a neighborhood where there are drugs, and I'll show them. You start doing drugs, this is what you're going to look like. Do you want this? Because this is not the house you're living in now, but this is where you're going to end up. If you don't do well in school and you start doing drugs, this is where you're going to end up. I guarantee you my kids are not going to do drugs. I guarantee it, okay?
But,
now, if you can somehow change the dynamic and change what's being taught to the families in the African American community so that the parents start valuing education and valuing refraining from use of drugs, okay? And valuing family. If you can get those values to be nurtured in that community, that's how you start making everything better there.
But you know what? I mean, how many times have we heard young black kids, 15 years old, talking about, look, I got a guy over here that's making, $10,000 a week, and then they want to pay me $8 an hour over at McDonald's. I'm not doing that. It gets down to economics because the thing is that if all there was McDonald's, he might have a different look. But when you have McDonald's over here and then you got $10,000 a week over here, dude, I'm not doing that McDonald's.
Not everybody on drugs is making $10,000 a week. Okay, most of those people on drugs are losing their lives in the middle of the streets. You take those people around who are supposedly given that choice, $10,000 at McDonald's, right? Mm-hmm. You say, yeah, right, you're going to get $10,000. Maybe that'll happen for 1 week or 2 weeks, then you're going to die.
You're going to
go to jail.
But that's easy to say being on the outside of the hood.
I have a solution. I have a solution. Mm-hmm. There is, in my mind, there is no difference between a guy selling a kid some heroin and a guy putting a gun to their head, pulling the trigger, and blowing their brains out. They're both murderers, in my opinion. Murder is a capital crime punishable by death. The selling of drugs should be in the same category. And you would start on the road to curing the problem, because
Okay.
now the
Well,
kid
by your
that's
logic,
influenced,
DUI should be a capital offense also.
What?
By your logic,
No.
DUI should be a capital
No.
offense. Why not?
Because
people kill people because they drive drunk. It happens all the time.
But what about marijuana? Marijuana, you got all these black males in prison right now with life sentences for selling a little bit of marijuana, and now all of a sudden marijuana can be sold in D.C. and Colorado and blah blah blah. These guys are still in jail,
I'm
okay,
talking
because
about
it was a
hard
drug at.
That'll kill you.
But my
Crack
point is, you
cocaine.
got people serving life
Yeah.
for a drug that was not a hard drug. That's my point.
I don't know about those cases.
But
Oh, there's a bunch of.
But it might have been third strike, right? I mean,
No.
No?
You had some people who were just carrying a little bit too much because they made
I guarantee
they made
it's
the
not their
tolerances.
first. I guarantee it's not their first crime. I
They-
guarantee
they-
it. Nobody goes to jail
but-
for
but
life for
still-
having pot. Like
No. I'm telling. The black community knows about this, and that's one of the reasons why they're not real happy with the Clintons, because they're the ones that actually put it in place.
Matt, to your point, there's countries that have capital punishment, like Singapore. If you deal drugs, they'll hang you.
Do you want to be like Singapore?
I heard they have a
I
very
don't
low
wanna be
crime
like
rate, and they're a
Singapore.
nice
Well, see,
country. That's all I know
Yeah,
about
Saudi
them.
Arabia, they'll chop your hands off for
Well,
shoplifting.
so what's
I don't
wrong
want to
with
be so-
capital
It
punishment if you're
violates the
selling
8th
hard
Amendment.
drugs?
It's a cruel and unusual punishment
No.
for that. You are unilaterally likening drug distribution to murder. You are doing that.
Of course.
No.
If a guy
but-
sells a heroin to a kid in Maine, a nice white kid, or whatever, he's got money, the parents, all of a sudden their 16-year-old is dead from a heroin overdose. That son of a bitch committed murder that sold it to him. He
Using
should
that
pay the
logic, you
penalty.
can give capital punishment to a lot of things, and I don't think you want to go there.
But see, I think what you're talking about is what we talked about on the last show, where freedom costs. There's certain things that you're going to have to give and take when it comes to being a free country. Like we talked about, if you're going to decide, okay, you're going to drive home tonight, okay, well, guess what? You take the risk of somebody hitting you out there. That comes with the package.
That's true.
And my point is that in a free nation, there's risk everywhere.
But
There's
there's
You're
a hell of
absolutely
a
right.
lot of
I agree
difference
with you
between
100%.
there's a lot of difference between possibly getting hit by a drunk driver and killed, okay, than a man knowingly selling a dangerous drug to someone that he knows could kill him.
But the guy
You
was
don't-
knowingly driving drunk,
Exactly.
Yeah,
He knew he
that's
was
one of
doing
the
it.
most
He got in that
irresponsible
car and he
things
took
you
that
can
risk.
do.
He took
Yeah.
that risk.
too. Right. And there's a lot of ways that people die in this country because of that risk that we don't talk about. We don't talk about how many
I'd like to
people
get the
die
figures of how many
on
people.
drunk drivers.
Oh, no.
Oh my God.
Wait a second. Just out of curiosity, next month I'm going to do a little research. I'd like to get the figures on how many people are killed in this country by drunk drivers per year versus how many people die from drug overdoses
You'll
per
lose.
year.
You know what drug kills the most people in America?
What?
Nicotine. 365,000 deaths a year.
There it is.
Every
I'm talking
look, it's a drug. I'm
All
just
right,
saying, and
I-
it's legal. You know
Yes.
why your health cost is so high? Cigarettes has a lot to do with it. Every day, the tobacco industry has to get 1,000 new smokers to replace the 1,000 that die.
I'm talking about heroin. I'm talking about crack cocaine. what's this other drug that they
You're
stir
not
up in
listening.
their
You're not
house?
listening to what he said. You're not listening.
I'm not listening.
He's talking about tobacco is a legal
Tobacco.
drug.
I smoked for 30
It kills a lot
years.
of people.
Yeah.
It kills a lot of people.
It does.
So should they go to jail? Should everybody in the tobacco company go to jail?
That's a slow
They
death.
know, we know. So what? You don't think drugs is only a little bit slower? It's fastest when you're drunk and you kill somebody on the street. That's the fastest way to kill somebody.
Well,
Okay.
I guess nobody will ever vote for me.
If nobody in this country smoked, everybody's health care would go way down.
Yep.
Way down. You
God.
know?
So listen. It comes back to what Al said. Look, we live in a free country. You can make these choices, right? You can choose to smoke cigarettes, but it's going to cost you and everybody else a lot of money.
You know what? And here's a great example. Right here.
Water
this
has
is
killed more
free.
people in this country.
This is free. This is free out of the not free out of the tap, but
Out of the
you
toilet.
get it out of the tap.
right.
Okay? We're paying what, $1 and some change
Mm-hmm.
for this something that you can get out of the tap for almost. I can go right down the hall
Yeah.
and get me some water. My point is that we're constantly trying to figure out ways to mitigate risk, because in a free country, free water, there's risk that comes with that. I mean, ask the people in
Detroit.
not Detroit.
Well, yeah, you're thinking about the
Michigan.
lead issue.
In Michigan, yeah.
You
I
know-
mean, so the thing is that, and the thing was that these people had nowhere to go. They couldn't leave. They couldn't afford to leave. They were trapped in a situation where you got all that water, and the politicians say, oh, no, it's good, it's all good, it's all good, it's all good. And then when they get caught, it's like, well, it wasn't me. I mean, so the thing is that you know,
And who went to
again,
jail over that, by the way? Somebody should have. There's no responsibility. At
right,
that level.
exactly. So again, I think that the conversation is great, but we have to understand certain facts. One, it's a 3D situation, meaning that you got to get in there and you got to mess with a lot of different things to change something. It doesn't just change because you say, okay, well, shoot everybody. No, I ain't gonna get it. Okay, well, give everybody some money. No, they ain't gonna get it either.
I think you're talking about me again in a sly way.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
So that. But the other thing is, like I said, we've got to understand that there is inherent risk. That's what we talked about. There is inherent risk in living in this country. Inherent risk in everything that we do. Everything. Breathing the air.
Owning firearms.
Owning firearms, getting a car. Exactly, because you got people who are going out and shooting.
We have X amount of gun deaths a year, but we live in a free country, and that's what you got to expect when you live in a free country. That's the cost of freedom.
That's the cost of freedom.
I have been enlightened tonight, seriously, because I believe what you say. There's no simple solution.
No, there isn't.
There is a multitude of possible solutions, but in order to start identifying the solutions, you have to have a conversation about the problem. So I think we've broken the ice here tonight on this subject, and I hope it continues. I know you and Matt got something going on with some other group.
It's going to be very interesting.
That's going to be a good training ground tonight for what you guys get into.
Yeah, because I plan on bringing people to the table who are really interested in growing something that makes sense. Because right now, I tell people all the time, if you think about it, when you watch the news and you hear Clinton, Trump, Clinton, Trump, Clinton, Trump all day long, you know what's interesting to me? We don't hear anything about the laws that they're passing up there in D.C. And you know they're passing some. They don't want nobody to know about some of the stuff that they're doing up in D.C. And as long as they keep us with smoke and mirrors with the whole election thing, and they're going to do this. Think about it. This started last year. The media has been drowning us with this stuff since last year. How much damage can they do when it comes to laws in this country? The laws both Republican and Democrat, because trust me, they're making deals. That's what they do. Now they'll tell you we're not passing. They don't pass the major laws, but trust me, there's some laws being passed with all kind of little stuff. You know, what do they call it? Pork. Exactly. All kind of little stuff going on where they're taking care of who they need to take care of, but nobody knows about it because all we're hearing about is Trump and the 15 other guys. And then when they get through with that, okay, it's going to be Clinton. Okay, we heard about Bernie. I mean, I sit and watch CNN all day, and CNN is wall to wall Trump and Clinton. Wall to wall. How are we supposed to know anything about what's going on in the country that's important to us?
But I will say this. I drive about 1,000 miles a week in Metro Atlanta on my job. I'm in and out of neighborhoods all the time, from conservative Johns Creek to liberal Midtown. And I will tell you this, in the 20 years I've been in the gutter business, I have not seen hardly any Trump Pence stickers, Clinton Kane stickers. There are no posters in people's front yards. They are nowhere. Usually 70-something days from an election, people are showing their cards everywhere, which way they're going to vote, and bumper stickers. It's not happening
I
this
think
time.
people are really disgusted with both parties.
Both
for a lot
candidates
of reasons.
have the highest negative ratings
That's right.
than any other, I think, in the history of campaigns.
You know, all the political BS aside, and you're right, it's wall-to-wall political BS. What bothers me the most in this country today is waking up every day and say, oh, my God, another, 14 people got shot in Chicago this weekend. Man, they're Americans. They got a right to live. They don't have And this is a town with the most stringent gun laws in the country. It's not the guns; it's the people with the guns.
Well, again, but the thing is that somebody just like the guy that got the truck and ran and barreled over all those people over in Europe. Yeah, he had a truck. Think about that for a second. A truck. He's killing people. Yeah. So my point is that you can take almost anything. You remember you had the guy that was taking a syringe and going into the stores and doping stuff up. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that this is a guy with a syringe. He's out there killing people. You got some guys, that run around with guns and they're trying to be snipers. You got people blowing up bombs, blah blah blah. Your McVeigh, blah blah.
The last 3 incidents in Europe where people were attacked by Muslim extremists and killed, they had knives because the people aren't allowed to have guns over there. So they'll find a way to kill you.
That's my point.
So
That's my
why
point.
take away the guns from us, the people that, have a right to bear arms according to our Constitution and who are responsible? But that's for another time.
I'll make one
Yeah.
distinction though between the murders that are committed by Muslim extremists and the gangsters in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the gangsters in Chicago think that they have a fair chance of surviving and not going to jail, not getting caught, whereas the Muslim extremists know that they're going to get caught and are likely going to die.
Yeah.
Those people are prepared to pay the ultimate
Yeah.
price because they think that they're going to go to heaven for
That's
doing
why you
it.
can't stop them.
Right, but that's not necessarily the case for these gangsters in Chicago who want to live to kill another day.
Well, one last little pointer, historical note. You know what the catalyst was in 1929 for getting rid of Al Capone and his gang in Chicago? St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The country was outraged. You know how many people were killed at one time? 7.
7, that's right.
They killed more in Chicago this weekend than that by twice the amount.
Yeah, but they were
Folks,
cops too.
Folks, what? What did he say?
The Valentine's Day Massacre
They
was
were
cops?
They were not cops.
No, they were
dressed up like
they were
cops.
dressed up like
Yeah,
cops.
yeah, thank you. I'm glad I clarified that. Anyway, folks, I hope you've enjoyed the spirited conversation this month. We really enjoy doing the show. We'd like to hear from you out there, and
Yeah, give us some comments.
Give us some comments
Let us
back.
know,
Let us know
what you
how-
liked about
yeah.
it. Let us know what you want us to discuss.
I would personally like to know if anybody would vote for me for public office with my stand on drugs.
I'll do it just on your standing on shooting people.
Because if I get enough yeses, I'm going to run for something. Until next week, or next month, everybody. Take care.
Ciao for now.
Peace.
All right.